Welcome back, guys. This is episode 44. We continue our conversation with Wu. Wu, again, thank you so much for being open, sharing this very unique perspective. This is the first time. Obviously, we can all connect the dots to insecurities, but this is the first time we're talking about somebody who names money as that source of security, of control. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for sharing your journey. I know that we left off where you hit your bottom and started turning, and one of the things that you mentioned is that there's definitely a big difference how you view money now versus how it was when you declared bankruptcy. And I figured that maybe this could be a good start point. Is like where you are in life right now. How do you view money as compared to when you declared bankruptcy?
So it's very subtle, right? I don't know if I could really kind of define what that looks like, mm-hmm. but really the only thing that I could say is like whenever I think about whenever I thought about like, all right, so how can I support my family, right? Mm-hmm. It starts with money, right? So the way I'm going to support my family is by making as much as I can so that I could give them the things that they want, right? And now it's more so, all right, the way that I support my family now is by giving them love and attention. And how do I give that love and attention that they need? Is like, I'm still going to have to make money to live, obviously, mm-hmm. but for me to be able to do that, I need to use this tool called money, mm-hmm. so that I can have time and the resources to be able to provide them the love that I want to give to them.
Wow.
So does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I don't think when it comes to money, it is what it is. The problem is, I think some people are owned by money because mm-hmm. they got to make more. Their own money owns them.
Yeah.
Versus the man who actually owns his money and he says, no, my money's going to go here. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. Mm-hmm. It's going to serve my purposes. It won't own me. Mm-hmm. In other words, I control money. Money doesn't control me. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about giving our families what they want, I mean, that's such a broad statement to make. It almost boils down sometimes to the things I presume or I think they'll want, which will cost money. But when we boil it all down, really, the kind of wife you have, mm-hmm. and Marek has, I have, I think ultimately they just want to know their husbands love them unconditionally and that we think they're the most precious woman in the whole world. And my wife is, just so you boys know. I think that's really what they want, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I think they would forego bigger houses, fancier cars to have a husband that loves them, gazes upon them, cherishes them. To have less and have that is more for them. Mm-hmm. Is that about right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, if I just kind of look at my relationship with my wife, even throughout this whole process, it's been, it was hard, but I think our relationship was strongest whenever we were going through those hard times. Wow. So it's definitely agree with you in that, like, what at the end of the day, like, what I may not be speaking for all females, but like what we truly desire from our significant other is just love, right?
It is.
And if for some, to do certain things, like it would probably require some money. Like, for example, like when I was going through that. During Valentine's Day, I wanted to go get some flowers, but I didn't. I couldn't because I didn't have enough money. Because my card got declined. But instead, I just went on the street and picked out some flowers off the street. I may have been stealing from public property, but like the fact of the matter was, it was my intent that she really cared about. She didn't care what it looked like. Right. So
it probably was pretty special to her, I'm going to presume.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the most precious Christmases I had was when we had nothing as well. Uh-huh. The pastor of the church we were going to came by with a Christmas tree and says, hey, I just wanted to buy you guys a Christmas tree. And the only gift that our daughter got from us, now the grandparents had sent our kids gifts, right? As grandparents do. But the only gift we really got her was a $2.99 ball from Walmart when I think she was 2 years old or something. And as humbling as that is, it's probably one of the few Christmases I truly remember.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, God puts everybody through certain situations. For me, I think God used money and amongst other things, but whatever it is, I think God uses difficult times and trials to really help us to grow in our relationship with God, right?
Yeah.
And I know that, I'm sure you guys have had some interviews where people really kind of go through some. I know that the person that you interviewed before me was like a drug addict, and they just kind of hit rock bottom. So some may have some extreme situations like that. For me, I don't think it was as extreme as that, where I just completely maybe it kind of was too from a financial perspective, but I wasn't like divorced, and I was fortunate enough to have my wife there with me. So, but from like what we kind of mentioned before in the previous episode, like it was a true hit to my identity, and that's really kind of like the military, right? You go through boot camp. What you go through boot camp is the purpose of boot camp is to break you down to nothing, so that they can build you back up. And I think God uses that same methodology in different ways for different people.
I fully agree.
For different idols,
Yeah.
Fully agree. So what is it like now for you with money? How do you view money now in your life?
As I mentioned before, it's not necessarily... I see money as a tool. Let's just call it that. It's a tool for me to provide for my family the things that I think is necessary for them, right? So obviously we need a roof over our heads. So we need a house of some sort or an apartment. We need money for us to have a roof over our heads. We need money for food. We need money for insurance, things like that. But it's not necessarily, I think the way that I view money now, I think it's always gonna continue to be an ongoing battle. Yeah. But the way that I try to look at it and look at money is not necessarily how can I grow my wealth, but how can I grow my love for God and my family, and how is money going to help me to do that? Yeah. Right.
So let me just be frank. Is giving an issue with you? Like, do you struggle with that?
You mean just like giving and tithing and offering, things like that?
Tithing. Some people don't believe in tithing. They believe in giving. They believe tithing ended in the Old Testament. Whatever it might be, tithing, offerings, to the church or ministries or charitable causes, things of that nature. Do you wrestle with that today?
So the simple answer I would say is yes, if I'm being completely honest.
Oh, and we want you to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Otherwise we have to end the interview right here.
We call this the no BS zone. So.
Yeah.
Otherwise I have to call security.
But man, I just love that transparency. This is where people wrestle. You're not the only one that wrestles with giving. And I think I'm wrestling through that now. Different reasoning, but I'm wrestling through that now. What's that looking like for you?
So even though I wrestle with that, I still take that leap of faith, and basically every time I give or tithe or whatever we'll call it, every time I give, I try to make a conscious decision and say, God, I'm giving you back what you've provided me with, and I'm trying to make sacrifices for you. Now, it does say in the Bible that give with a cheerful heart, right? Typically, like when I'm praying to give, like before I kind of get into the mode of being prayerful about that gift or giving or whatever, or giving back to God, like I'm kind of this is mine. Like I need to keep this.
Mm-hmm.
But after that prayer, it's more so just almost like giving up myself to God, right? And I hope, even though it says give with a cheerful heart, like I think at the end of the day, if I'm being real, I still don't think I am. But I like to believe that God knows where my heart is, like that I want to get there.
And we talked about that last episode, or with Chris earlier, that God looks upon the heart, man looks on the outward, and He saves us from ourselves. And He sees, man, He really does desire to, at whatever it might be, give or be free of drugs, like Chris's situation. I think, it was Chris we talked about. Yeah. God looks upon the heart. If this helps you, I'd encourage you with this, right? There's so many things my flesh does not want to do that Christ requires of me as a follower of Him, as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus. And the Bible's quite clear in Romans 7, that which I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, this is what I find myself doing. And I find these two things at war within me. Who can save me, right? You guys know the scriptures, Romans 7. And this is our reality. And what I've come to make peace with is sometimes I just basically say to my flesh, screw you. Mm-hmm. As I write my check to give to a ministry or a church, I might not be a joyful giver in the outward expression of yeehaw. Mm-hmm. But what it is like when I sign my name, it's like saying, Satan, God is in control here. Mm-hmm. This is His. I'm giving it unto Him. You do not own me. Mm-hmm. Sign the check. Yeah. And sometimes it's more of an attitude of that than, maybe a cheerful giver, which we think like bouncing down the street, the big smile, carrying on and in such a gleeful way. I think a joyful giver can also be a joyful giver in the sense of, God is in control. He's got me, and I am not going to let my flesh own me. God is not, money is not my God. Right. And it's a freedom of saying, no, God's bigger than my flesh. So take this, Satan, as I sign the check. Yeah.
So the best analogy that I could think of, me, I think most guys deal with pornography, right?
No. Mark and I have never.
Okay.
You're the only one.
Okay, yeah. Well, I deal with pornography. Like I struggle with.
What is this pornography that you speak of?
Just obviously, what he's saying is he has not listened to all of our episodes where we talked about 4 decades combined between the two of us with wrestling.
It must be Korean. It's probably Korean.
Yeah.
All right, carry on. I'll stop now.
But so the point that I'm trying to make is, look, we're always going to deal with the desire to view or be in our flesh and watch pornography, right? I view money and giving kind of the same way. Like I'm always going to have the desire. Yeah. But you're right. You're absolutely right. You kind of hit it right on the head. Like making that declaration, because let's be real, like if I'm being completely logical, like I probably would be an atheist, right? Like how does raising somebody up from the dead make sense? Right? And how do you believe that somebody who died 2,000 years ago died for my sins 2,000 years later, right? So it's more so about making that conscious effort that, look, I'm just going to believe this, and I'm going to believe that what I'm doing is for God, and I'm going to choose to battle with this desire to watch pornography. I'm going to choose to battle this desire to say that I don't want to give back to God what He's provided for me, or I'm going to choose to battle this love of money that I have. I think it all just kind of is. I see it all as kind of the same thing, right?
The best things in life aren't convenient, and the best things to achieve take pain and work. Yeah. Have you ever noticed that? No, I mean, you guys obviously went through military training, basic training, but then training beyond that tested you and pushed you. Like when you're, I don't know if they'd call them drill instructors in your different branches.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were both, you were Marines in your Army.
But same concept.
Same drill instructors. They're yelling at you, telling you to give them more push-ups or do whatever it is. Like, it's not convenient. Like, I presume you did not have a drill instructor who says, how are you gentlemen feeling today? Can I get you anything?
Yeah.
How about you rest a little longer? You're looking a little pale. Drill instructors push you to the limit and to what you feel is the brink so that you can survive the challenges that are coming your way for where they know you're going to be placed in a combat zone. Mm-hmm. And you've got to be disciplined. Now look at this. We're called to be disciples of Jesus. Well, we're disciples of Jesus. And the prefix of the Greek, if I understand it right, is a prefix of disc in the English, of discipline, disciple.
Yeah.
And we're disciplined followers. It's the same. Disciple, disciplined. Same. We're disciplined followers of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And a disciplined follower doesn't take the easy way.
Yeah.
It's like understanding my weaknesses and then doing extra to overcome it. So when I said to you writing the check and basically saying, screw you, Satan, I'm writing this check, that's what I'm doing. I am forcing myself, I am disciplining myself to be a disciplined follower of Jesus by giving. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is for me. It's a man-up exercise to say I am a follower of Christ. Mm-hmm. To make my flesh go, you submit to what Christ says.
Yeah.
Does that relate to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know if I mentioned this podcast. One of my favorite quotes is by Saint Augustine. Faith is understanding is the reward of faith. Therefore, seek not to understand that you may believe, but believe that you may understand. In other words, if you're always looking for proof, you're not going to get there. But if you believe one day it's going to happen, you're going to understand it backwards. And so, for example, was with pornography. To this day, I cannot remember the last time I watched porn because I didn't believe that was going to be the last time I watched porn. And it was free, And then fast forward masturbation, I was like, hey, I took care of pornography, but there's no way I'll be able to not masturbate. And guess what? I haven't, for quite, at least 2 years now. And again, it's like even after all these big leaps, I still didn't believe that I could do it. And it's just a continual process that, hey, I have to overcome my mind, because if I believe, I don't know the day or the hour, but God will deliver. And it's just a matter of me walking that journey, that difficult journey, and hopefully surround myself with brothers who are encouraging in that journey. Because just like in the armed forces, one of the main reasons why the armed forces are so successful, because that concept of band of brothers, because you have the brothers that are with you, and so collectively you achieve way more than you could have by yourself. And so to me, that's why it's so important to believe and surround yourself put yourself in the right environment that encourages you to stick to your belief, rather than just kind of poke holes in your beliefs and try to get you into your mind and think it's stupid and default to the ways of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you were kind of talking about that, what kind of came to mind was, I mean, we all have kids here, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't have kids?
No.
Okay.
Working on it.
One day soon. Soon.
In Jesus' name.
Believe and declare, yes.
Yeah.
And again, and not understanding but believing, yes.
So if I'm thinking about like how I'm going to discipline my children, and if I want to love them, and I really want what's best for them, I probably am not going to just say, hey, just go ahead and do what you want, and I'm going to give you all these things, right? No, I want them to suffer through life so that they become strong men of God when they grow up, right? And I think God, I knew that before I had kids, but after I had kids, I really truly understand what that means, right? What it really means for God to be our Father and why He really disciplines us, right? Because it really kind of tugs at the heart of the matter, and not necessarily. So the circumstances themselves are not. Yes, they're important, but what the circumstances are really doing for you is really kind of breaking you down and building you back up as a strong man of God who is disciplined enough to follow God the rest of your life.
It is. And I think another way I look at that is it's revealing who we are.
Uh-huh.
As we're being broken down, it's revealing. And in that moment of revelation of, am I going to run to God, or am I going to run away from God? Am I going to submit to God, or am I going to, do what my flesh wants? Mm-hmm. Those are the defining moments in our lives. Who owns me? And, in your case, as we wind this down, is it money or is it God? Mm-hmm. Is it porn or is it God? Is it what rules us? And I think as men, we've just always got to be conscientious and mindful of what is ruling us in the moment. When we go out to the street and there's some woman walking, what's ruling us? When we have an opportunity to make a sleazy deal or an unclean deal in business to make more money, what's ruling us in that moment? Mm-hmm. What's ruling us, and who are we following? Who are we disciplining ourselves after? And so I just thank you so much for joining us on Heart for Excellence, because all these things take us away and detract what God has called us to, which is to be able to love and serve well, which is what we kind of preach here, is we attack the issues of the heart so a man is free to love and serve well. Thanks so much for being here, Mark.
Yes, thank you. I think you wrapped it up the best, Trevor. Again, thank you. I'm obviously an entrepreneur. I quit my job when I got paid a lot of money. So actually, your perspective is very helpful for me. Obviously, I made that step of faith, but as you mentioned, just because you've done it doesn't mean it goes away. These things keep coming up, and so the things that I've learned here are going to be helpful for me in those moments of doubt. So thank you for sharing testimony. I'm sure there's going to be listeners out there who struggle with similar issues, and your testimony is going to help them to turn towards God that are in default into the ways of the world. So thank you much for being on the podcast, Will. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Love you, man.
Love you too.